Hendrickson doesn't just help their depth. He lifts up everything. He's your closest Bosa replacement. He might be better than Bosa right in this moment. 17 and a half sacks last 2 years. No one else has done that. No one else has done that.
First of all, come on, give us your intel, including Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals. How realistic is that? How do you see the 49ers handling that in the weeks to come?
I think they're going to monitor, see how they're doing. Mine was more like, I think there's an urgency. They might not feel the same thing. I think at 3-0, possibly 4-0, I think I'd want him on the team, play that Week 5 game against the Rams, but it's not likely to happen that quickly. I feel like they're defending something here. Like, they've got a good start. I don't think they're going to win a Super Bowl with whoever they've got. I didn't think they were going to win a Super Bowl with Nick Bosa, but I think they got a shot at doing some things in the playoffs. I think 3-0 is a good start at that. I would do it as soon as I can, but I don't think they feel that urgency. Maybe the pick would be too high at this point. I think he fits them really well. There's other names out there, Arden Key and all these other names, Kayvon Thibodeau. I just think Trey Hendrickson, for a lot of reasons, fits kind of the now and possibly the down the road. I'd give up a second round pick for him. Conditionally, they could change to a first. Maybe that's a little high. They probably don't want to give up a first. They do have to keep their draft picks, most of them, because they got guys they need to replace down the road. But if you know the 49ers, you know they've always liked Hendrickson. That's a guy they like. They would have liked him 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Cincinnati was not trading him back then. I think Cincinnati would be very motivated to move him at some point this season, because I think he's not going to be on their team next season. So it's just going to be a matter of, when are they going to start talking about a second round pick? When's that going to be on the table? It might not be something the 49ers want to do right now. I would do it right now, but I'm in a different mindset than they are. I think when they get ready to do this, if their season is still successful enough, if they're 5-1, if they're 6-2, whenever that deadline's coming, is right in there. I think he's going to be the first one on their list. I would get in on it now, but again, that's me. I would say maybe they'll kind of assess where they are, where the market is. And they do tend to make their deals around the deadline. McCaffrey was around the deadline. Emmanuel Sanders was around the deadline. Garoppolo was around the deadline. This could be similar to that. I would just, if it was up to me, I'd want him as soon as possible. But, that might cost them an extra round in a draft pick, and maybe they don't want to do that. But, man, if you have to go over what's the best out there and what could fit their moment, it doesn't get any better than Trey Hendrickson.
Is it more smart for them now to go wait and see what you have and see if Mykel Williams is really going to be a difference maker? Is it possible that they have enough in the building now to where they can get by without having to spend big capital to bring somebody in?
Sure, it's possible, but what I'm always going to say is you don't know who's going to get hurt. You don't know. You always need another pass rusher. You always need someone else in case someone gets dinged up, in case somebody struggles. Mykel Williams is a rookie. He's not an edge rusher. He's just not. Bryce Huff's been a good edge rusher, but you can always use two of them, and then you bump Mykel Williams inside. Yes, theoretically, do they have enough? They do have enough. With a soft schedule, they already got 3 wins in the bank. Can they get to 10? Can they get to 11 if they don't make a dramatic move? Yeah, they can, but, man, they might lose someone else. They probably will lose someone else. Maybe not on the defensive line, but somewhere else. They might go more games without one of their stars. Christian McCaffrey could miss some games. I never have a problem saying, let's just make sure we're taking care of it, this one position. I will also mention that Leonard Floyd could have been a good option if you had kept him. They did not keep him. I never understood that move. I believe that guys get hurt in the NFL, and you try to accumulate as many good ones as you can. Hey, if they trade for Trey Hendrickson, he could get hurt. That's always possible. Certainly with the 49ers in the last few years. But I just think you got a shot at it in one of Trent Williams' last prime years, one of Christian McCaffrey's prime years, one of Fred Warner's prime years. You're paying a lot of money to this roster, even if guys are hurt. I go for it. And I think the one significant way you can go for it, man, head and shoulders over most of the other options is Hendrickson, and he's not going to cost you 2 first-round picks, that's for sure. Maybe won't even cost you 1 first-round pick. in that moment feels like a Christian McCaffrey moment. You know, they gave up like a 2, a 3, and a 4, I think, for McCaffrey.
And a 5,
And a
yeah.
5,
yeah. And a 5, yeah. You know, I don't even think it would cost that much for Hendrickson, just because he's older and because it's a situation where the Bengals probably are not thinking of him long term. I just feels like that to me, and I don't need to know if I'm going to be 5-0. I don't need to know that. If you're asking me, they might need to know that. I think they're a pretty good team. I think they're a pretty good team with a chance to win a game or two. Compare this to the Rams. The Rams were not a super roster, but who played the Eagles the toughest in the playoffs? It was the Rams. They could have won that game.
Yep.
Can the 49ers do something like that? I should want to see, you know, I'd want to push that out there. They're not 1-2. They're 3-0. They're winning these tight games. I just wrote something for tomorrow. I mean, they're 3-0 without having really played a great game. They played some good moments. They have not played a great game. They needed 3 plays at the end to win 3 games. One by Nick Bosa, one by Bryce Huff, and one by Eddie Pinheiro, if you want to count a kick. This is a team that's winning these games that did not win them last year. NFL seasons are valuable. If you got a shot at it, I go for it. That's me. They decided not to go for it in the offseason. I sort of understood the mentality. I didn't understand how far they went for it, but 3-0 changes that, in my opinion. If you don't have to change everything that you've planned for, your entire payroll structure, I think you don't have to if you go for Trey Hendrickson. There are a few other names out there. Arden Key is one I keep mentioning because he's been with them. I don't know how much he really, you know, changes who they are, but there's a few names out there that I wouldn't, I certainly think at least help their depth. Hendrickson doesn't just help their depth. He lifts up everything. He's your closest Bosa replacement. He might be better than Bosa right in this moment. Don't tell Bosa I said that. But 17.5 sacks last 2 years. No one else has done that. And he's got 3, I think, already this year. So he's on pace to do it again. That's a special player.
I'm wondering if the Bengals need to know that they're not going to have a good record before they're willing. I get it. Joe Burrow's out. They're 2-1. They were embarrassed, but they have those 2 early wins. They go Broncos, Lions, Packers. Maybe they need to get their you-know-what's handed to them before they're willing to deal?
I guess it's possible, but they don't want to pay Trey Hendrickson. They've already They've gone through this tussle with him for 2 years. They're not winning a lot of games with Jake Browning. They're just not. We've seen this story before. You lose a starting quarterback. You lose Burrow. They've lost Burrow before, and it hasn't gone well for them. Maybe they do need to see it, or maybe they need to tell their fans, we pushed as far as we can. I wouldn't need that if I was them. I'm pretty sure that they're not going to be good. If you're them, you're not trading Jamar Chase, right? You're not trading good players. Players that you know that you're going to have on the roster for down the road. But Trey Hendrickson is a Christian McCaffrey for Carolina right now. Like, they were not going down the road with Christian McCaffrey anymore, so they traded him. Maybe it wasn't a great trade for them, but that was the mentality. I understood it, and 49ers jumped on that opportunity. Get ahead of the line. Do it for Hendrickson. Again, it's urgency that maybe the 49ers don't exactly feel right now. But, man, if in 3 weeks you might feel it, 49ers would like to have him rushing Matt Stafford. That's just me. It's probably not going to happen by then. But when you have that clear call, that clear chance, which they've felt and acted on for Jimmy Garoppolo, for Emmanuel Sanders, for Trent Williams, for Christian McCaffrey. Now, that's a few years ago, more than a few years ago for most of them. That's when the 49ers were going for it. Well, Garoppolo was when they were just trying to get a quarterback. But the other ones, they're going for it. I'm not saying they got a Super Bowl roster if they plop Trey Hendrickson in there, but I think you kind of owe it to the roster for getting you to this spot. Try to go for this is a shot. This is a shot to get in, win a couple games. We know when they make the playoffs, they get the NFC Championship game every single time under Kyle Shanahan. If they make the playoffs, they get to the NFC Championship game at least. This would give them a shot at it. I think seasons are worth it.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about 3-0, and therefore you've earned it, because when they picked up McCaffrey that year, you remember they were 4-4 coming off a loss to Atlanta, and they couldn't run the ball, so they got a running back, and suddenly they took off. Just looking at this team, right now through 3, when you look at them, what is their biggest shortcoming right now as a team, even though they're 3-0?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it changes with every new injury because you're just like, okay, they might be okay here, and then they lose Juwan Jennings at receiver. We'll see. He might be back. We'll see. The defensive line had been relatively healthy. Then they lose Bosa. So I'm not going to say one specific area. It's just they're thin at a lot of places. They've gotten hurt at a lot of places. They got Purdy coming back. I think that was, Mac Jones was a really nice signing to make sure they're okay there. I don't think they win 2 games with Brandon Allen, let's say. I can't say exactly where I think, I would say offensive line. I've been saying offensive line for a year, and then they thumb their nose at me. They don't take offensive linemen in the draft, basically, except for Connor Colby in the 7th round,
Right.
and they just slop him in there, and he does fine. I think talent-wise and age-wise, it's offensive line. I think that's the one that might get them in the end. If they lose Trent Williams, I don't know what they're doing at left. It's Austin Pleasance, I think, at left tackle. And again, injuries are going to happen. More injuries are going to happen. Guys are going to come back, and other guys are going to get hurt. This is going to happen. That's the one thing I think, big picture, I might criticize John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan for, is they get over optimistic about things. They think that, okay, when we're all healthy, everything will be great. When we're all healthy. And what do we know about the 49ers and the NFL
Never
and
healthy.
sports in general? You're never all healthy. It never happens like that. Nick Bosa will not be healthy this season. That's now, part of history. So offensive line was where they could use a few more talent, a little more youth, but they go their own way on offensive line. I've had this discussion with Kyle Shanahan. I'm not, he's going to do it the way he's going to do it. I think it'd be really nice to have a 3rd-round tackle who's been sitting around for a year, ready to plug in at either spot. If anyone gets hurt, they do not have that. That's not who they are. But that, if you ask me, big picture, where the holes are, I would say offensive line. And they would disagree with me quite violently, by the way. And they would point to, look at the stats, look at our guys. They have they've been solid this season. I do think when they go up a level, let's say when they play the Rams. So listen, Jacksonville's got a pretty good defensive line. So maybe we see some of that there. They stopped the run. People are not running on them. I don't know that the 49ers are going to run on them. They have not run very well this season. Isn't that the way it usually works? That you struggle running the ball, then you go up against the best run defense you're going to play, and then you run the ball.
You take off.
Kyle Shanahan's going to want to do that, but this is not a bunch of Pro Bowlers on the offensive line. I know they don't think they need that, but I would say if you down the road in week 14, what we might be talking about, I think we might be talking about the offensive line.